In a defiant Independence Day address, Ukrainian President Zelensky has declared total war against Russia, vowing to reclaim all occupied territories and repel the ongoing invasions. This powerful statement, delivered in a video message, comes amidst devastating news from the front lines, including the storming of the critical Pokrovsk Citadel and widespread crippling power outage across Ukraine as its eastern defensive rapidly crumbled. The declaration marks a significant escalation in rhetoric and signals Ukraine's unwavering resolve despite immense military setbacks and growing humanitarian crisis. Zelensky's Independence Day video, broadcast to the nation and the world, was a stark call to arms. He invoked historical parallels of Ukrainian resilience and sacrifice, emphasizing that the fight was not just for territory, but for the very existence and sovereignty of the nation. The Total War Declaration suggests an all-encompassing national effort, mobilizing every available resources and individual in defense of Ukraine. This rhetoric aims to galvanize both the military and the civilian population, preparing them for an intensified and prolonged conflict. The timing of this declaration is particularly poignant, as it coincides with some of the most challenging days for Ukraine since the initial invasion. The news from the front lines, especially the storming of the Pokrovsk Citadel, underscores the immense pressure Ukrainian forces are under. Pokrovsk, a strategically vital stronghold in the Donbas, had been a key defensive position, and its fall represents a significant gain for Russian force and a severe blow to Ukrainian morale and strategic depth in the east. The storming of Pokrovsk Citadel was reportedly a brutal and intense engagement, characterized by heavy artillery barrage, aerial assaults, and fierce ground combat. Russian forces, having concentrated significant resources, managed to breach the citadel's defense after days of relentless pressure. Ukrainian defenders, though fighting valiantly, were ultimately overwhelmed. The loss of Pokrovsk opens up new avenues for Russian advance further into Ukrainian territory, threatening to destabilize the remaining defensive lines in the region. Compounding these military setbacks, Ukraine is grappling with devastating power outages that are plunging large swaths of the country into darkness. These outages are a direct result of targeted Russian strikes on critical energy infrastructure across Ukraine. The systematic destruction of power stations, substations, and transmission lines has left millions without electricity, impacting essential services such as heating, water supply, communications, and healthcare. The goal of these strikes appears to be to cripple Ukraine's logistical capabilities and break civilian morale. The crumbling front line in the east has directly contributed to the severity of the power crisis. As Russian forces advances, they are gaining control over territories that host significant portion of Ukraine's energy grid, making it harder for Ukrainian engineers to repair damaged infrastructure or reroute powers. The constant threats of shelling and missile strikes also complicate repair efforts, putting the lives of utility workers at extreme risk. The combined effect of military losses and infrastructure damage is creating a dire humanitarian situation. President Zelensky's declaration of total war is a desperate yet defiant response to these mounting challenges. It signals a rejection of any notion of surrender or territorial concessions, despite the military reality on the ground. This unyielding stance is intended to send a clear message to both Russia and Ukraine's international partners. Ukraine will continue to fight, and it expects sustained and increased support. The declaration is a rallying cry for national unity and international assistance. The international response to Zelensky's declaration and the deteriorating situation in Ukraine has been varied. While many Western nations have reiterated their support for Ukraine, there is growing concern about the feasibility of a total victory given Russia's recent gains. The United States under President Donald Trump has reaffirmed its commitment with Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasizing the importance of international solidarity against aggression, and Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth working to accelerate military aid shipments. The systematic targeting of Ukraine's energy infrastructure constitutes a severe violation of international humanitarian law, particularly concerning the protection of civilians and essential services. International organizations and human rights groups have condemned these actions, calling for an immediate cessation of attack on civilian infrastructure. However, Russia has consistently denied targeting civilians, asserting that its strikes are aimed solely at military targets or dual-use infrastructure supporting Ukraine's war effort. The fall of Pokrovsk Citadel has significant strategic implication. It not only represents a loss of territory, but also exposed critical vulnerabilities in Ukraine's eastern defense. Military analysts suggest that this breakthrough could enable Russia to intensify its offensive towards other key cities in the Donbas, potentially leading to further encirclement of Ukrainian force. The psychological impact on Ukrainian troops who had bravely defended the Citadel is also a major concern for commanders. The power outage are having a cascading effect on Ukrainian society. Hospitals are struggling to operate, relying on generators that are often in short supply or require fuel that is difficult to transport. Schools and businesses are forced to close, disrupting daily life and economic activity. The lack of reliable electricity also makes it challenging for people to stay warm as temperature began to drop, raising fears of a severe humanitarian crisis during the upcoming winter month. Zelensky's Independence Day address also appealed directly to the Ukrainian diaspora and international supporters, urging them to continue advocating for increased aid and stricter sanctions against Russia. He highlighted the urgent need for more sophisticated air defense systems to protect critical infrastructure from Russian missile and drone attack. The reliance on external support is evident as Ukraine grapples with a multi-front assault on its military, infrastructure, and civilian population. The total war declaration also implies a hardening of Ukraine's internal policies regarding the conflict. This could include stricter measures against collaborators, increased conscription efforts, and further centralization of wartime decision-making. The government is signaling that it will take all necessary steps, however drastic, to defend the nation's existence, preparing the populace for even greater sacrifice in the days and weeks to come. The international community is now faced with the challenge of how to respond to this intensified phase of the conflict. While there is a consensus on condemning Russian aggression, there are ongoing debates about the extent and nature of support that can be provided to Ukraine. Some European nations are advocating for even stronger sanctions and more robust military assistance, while others express cautions about further escalating the conflict and its potential global ramifications. Donald Trump's administration continues to navigate this complex landscape. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem would be involved in assessing the cybersecurity threats related to the power outage and potential Russian cyber attack on critical infrastructure. Attorney General Pam Bondi might be looking into potential war crimes committed through the targeting of civilian infrastructure. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard would provide crucial intelligence assessment to inform the president's decision during this critical period. The dramatic events, Zelensky's declaration, the fall of Pokrovsk, and the widespread power outage are shaping a new, more desperate phase of the conflict. Ukraine is demonstrating an unwavering resolve to fight, even as it faces immense pressure on our front. The coming period will undoubtedly test the limit of Ukrainian endurance and the commitment of its international allies, determining the future trajectory of the war and the geopolitical balance of power in Eastern Europe. The world watch as this critical struggle unfolds. The declaration of total war is not just symbolic, it is a clear indication that Ukraine intends to resist to the last, no matter the cost. This commitment, while inspiring to many, also raises concern about the potential for further escalation and the long-term impact on the civilian population. The human cost of this conflict continues to mount, with millions displaced and countless lives irrevocably altered by the ongoing hostilities. The international community is actively engaged in discussions to try and mitigate these escalating consequences. The impact of the power outage cannot be overstated. Beyond the immediate discomfort and danger to civilians, they also severely hamper Ukraine's war effort by disrupting logistic communications and the functioning of the defense industry. The systematic nature of these attacks suggests a deliberate strategy by Russia to undermine Ukraine's ability to resist, not just militarily, but also economically and socially. This creates an urgent need for humanitarian aid and technical assistance to restore essential services. The fall of Pokrovsk Citadel serves as a stark reminder of the challenge Ukrainian forces face. Despite their bravery and determination, they are often outmatched in terms of firepower and troop numbers in key sectors. The strategic loss of such a fortified position highlights the need for continuous and substantial military aid, including advanced weaponry and ammunition, to enable Ukraine to defend its remaining territories and potentially launch counter-offensive. The overall situation paints a grim but determined picture. Ukraine is under immense pressure, but its leadership, epitomized by President Zelensky's defiant stance, remains committed to fighting for national survival. The international community's response in the coming days and weeks will be crucial in determining whether Ukraine can weather the storm and continue its resistance against the Russian invasion. That's all for me for today. If you like the video presentation and you would like to follow for more, hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build a show for you. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye for now.